Mom's not ready.
Now everyone can hear you. Oh, we got a hype train right off the bat. Look at that. All right, we're here. I can hear myself. I can hear myself.
Okay, speakers on.
No. Is that? No, that's muted.
Because then we'd hear him.
I think I heard me through your microphone. I probably should just close my door so I don't hear me through your mic.
Hear you through.
Because I speak loudly, dear.
That's
why you can hear me. Shut up. Again, I'm grumpy because you're a bitch.
Evil just has a tunnel from his vocal fold to his ear.
Yes. Anywho, even though we're live, we probably don't have that many people here yet. But because I did notice the last time we played, our viewer base had actually dropped off quite significantly. So, oh, look at it. Hey, Vancouver, we're back. We're only streaming here once a fortnight now, Vancouver. Most of my content's over on Kick, doing all my gaming stuff over there, keeping the D&D over here for now. Kick has just put in a D&D category over there. So based on tonight's numbers, we'll determine whether we keep our content here or we move everything over to Kick and try and jump in on the ground level with the D&D content. Because I did notice today when I was checking out the category, there was another 4 or 5 streams, D&D streams up there. So there are more D&D streams coming into Kick, so we might end up moving it all over there. We'll see how we go. We'll see what numbers are like here tonight, and I'll make a decision based on that. But anywho, 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks or 3 weeks? 2 weeks. Oh, it was the other one that we tried to postpone. So next month, I have posted in the Discord for next month, because of Nutty's work schedule, our next game after tonight will be on the 2nd, which is 2 weeks from tonight, and the game after will be on the 30th, so it'll be a 3-week gap, because Nutty's got, on what would be our normal schedule, Nutty's working that night, so we do have to alter that. So we still get 2 games in for the month, which is cool. Just there'll be a 3-week gap instead of a 2-week gap after next fortnight's game.
My lovely manager read my preferences and then went, "Fuck it."
It happens.
I mean, unless she dies.
Well, this is true. Well, Nutty, that's not very nice.
Hey.
Well, I mean, unless Jane dies.
Well, unless Jane dies, of course. I mean, it's entirely possible. Again, I mean, you could all die tonight. You could all die tonight for all we know. I mean, this is D&D, right? Yeah. So for you guys in the chat, obviously, welcome. I'm back. I mean, I haven't seen all you guys for a while, so my name's Evldoa. We're back doing some more D&D. This is session 5 of our Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign. Now, for those that may not be aware, we had intended on doing Dragon Heist into Dungeon and Mad Mage. The more I've been reading Dungeon and Mad Mage, the more I've been thinking about it, the less I want to play it. So we've canned the idea of doing Dungeon and Mad Mage. And I've started working on a different adventure to follow on after Dragon Heist. So there will be a follow-on. This campaign will run through till level 5 or 6, maybe 7. We'll see how we go. And then we will transition into the new adventure, which will go from that level through to 15 to 20, depending on the party and obviously if they survive, all that stuff. So no one in the party is aware of what this adventure is, what the story is, where it takes place. I'm keeping that a little bit of a secret. I'm in the process of writing it at the moment. What's up, Magic? I have got most of the journals in. I've just got to do some more writing on the journal stuff. All the maps are in. I've just got to do all the walling and lighting, so that's going to take a little while as well. And then I've got to get some NPC tokens done or some other bits and pieces done as well. Level 1 hype train succeeded. There we go. Cheers for the resubs, guys. Appreciate it. As I said, just remember, for those that do hang out here with us on Twitch, the bulk of my content is now on Kick, kick.com/Evldoa. There is a spam which will come up and give you the link We're doing going back to roots over there. A lot of PUBG over on Kick. A lot of the old pew-pews that we used to do a lot on Mixer. So we're kind of returning back to the roots a little bit over there. As I said, depending on numbers and stuff here for D&D, eventually D&D will make it over there as well. Yes, bulk. Where? Over there somewhere, magic. So look out for the Kick content as well. Join the Discord. All the information's there. So I guess before we get to, I start prattling on too much about random stuff, we'll kick off tonight's episode. So last we left off, you had ventured into the sewers beneath the city of Waterdeep. You understand that you were looking for yellow markings that were to supposedly lead you further towards Floon's location. The yellow symbol in the shape of a sun, the Xanathar Guild representation mark. And what you did find was a rough yellow circle with some lines on it, which kind of looked like a sun. Led you northward along the sewer tunnels. The smell down here was disgusting at best. A couple of you getting a little wet as you leapt across the sewer water. One, Xerxes, got a little bit damp as he made it across, but sort of splooshed a little bit. And unfortunately for Jane, she splooshed a lot and took her a bit of a dunking. You continued through the sewer tunnels, and eventually sudden movement ahead stopped you all in your tracks as a small floating creature revealed itself, about the size of a large grapefruit, and attacked. You managed to dispatch this creature quickly without injury. However, Xerxes knew what this creature was and knew it spelled trouble, potentially announcing your arrival in this area, as he knows what these creatures, who these creatures work for and what they do. Eventually you find your way into what looks like a stronghold of sorts, and you're confronted by a little goblin upon initially not believing your story about why you were here. It tries to flee, only to be tackled by Dags, and then magically charmed by Elliot, who convinces the goblin that he needs to let you guys know who the boss is here, and to take you to him. However, he tells you about the boss. Grumshar was the boss's name, but he will refuse to take you there, knowing full well he'll be killed for his transgression. However, he does take his leave rather quickly as you decide to let him go rather than to kill him. You move further forward through the tunnels, down some stairs, and find yourselves outside of another room. And as you're discussing what your course of action was, a voice from the inside calls out to you. And eventually you are invited in, and you come face to face with a human and a dark dwarf, a Dwergar, who, in the course of your conversation with Elliot, I believe the conversation was mostly with, it was a deal was struck. You were to give up your weapons, and those of you that were spellcasters would refrain from casting any spells, and you would be taken to Grumshar, escorted as you offered a deal to see the return of Floon Blagmar, whom you are still seeking either to find or find out at least what happened to for Volo. So we pretty much rejoin you guys now in exactly that predicament. You're standing in the room with this Dwergar and the human. You've given up your weapons, all except Droplet, who has provided a very compelling argument as to why he should not give up his weapon. And Droplet has then been given the opportunity by the Dwergar to stay behind with your weapons as you, while you were escorted to your audience with Grumshar. So this is pretty much where we're here now, and the Duergar, the human that was with him, has collected your weapons and placed them down on one of the beds in this small room, and Droplet is sort of moving away from you guys now and moving over to where the weapons are, and the other human individual has his weapon still and is very not aggressive but cautiously watching you, Droplet, specifically. You can see that he's keeping a very close eye on you. He is definitely a lot larger than you. This guy probably stands about 6'1", 6'2", very broad-shouldered. Looks to be carrying a heavy mace at his side and a buckler shield. He definitely looks capable of using it. But he hasn't said anything. He's sort of grunted as he's collected weapons, and but he's definitely keeping a very close eye on you as you are still armed, and you've sort of moved towards where the weapons are being held. So the Duergar then turns to you, Elliot, and says, right, so we agreed that your friend will stay here and watch my friend, and he'll watch your friend. We'll take you to see Grumshar, and you can present your argument or your deal, and we'll see what he says.
Absolutely. And Elliot sort of walks slowly over to Droplet, and he sort of gets down on his knee and he puts his hand on his shoulder. He tries to look at him in the eyes, but he's a bird, so it's probably a little bit tricky. And he's like, I think I understand a little. And he sort of looks at the sword. He's like, keep yourself safe, and I'll... And he looks back at the others. We'll come back for you. It'll be okay.
Droplet nods knowingly. Places one of his talons on your shoulder. There's a moment of intense eye contact before turning to start organizing all of your weapons into whose is whose in neat rows and piles on the racks on the floor.
Easily enough done. Easily enough done indeed. So you stand, Elliot, and you rejoin your companions. And you are led out of this room, which was just a corridor across from the door you came in. Darkened corridor. The Duergar sort of looks at you and the group and says, all right. And he pulls out a torch, gets his flint, and scrapes his dagger across the flint to light the torch. Sparks it up, realizing that not all of you, if any of you, can see in the dark. So he sparks up a torch and lights the way. You're led down a sloping corridor that slopes downward, 10, 20, 30, maybe 50 feet long. And then you reach a stairwell, which starts leading back upwards after heading down for a time. And you see a flicker of light at the top of the stairs as you move up. And as he gets about half up the stairs, the Duergar sort of turns to you, douses the torch, and says, all right, I suggest you do the talking, because the boss doesn't like too much chatter. And of course, it's not to say that he's going to accept any deal you offer. At best be good. Dragons speak quite highly in Waterdeep. So if your friend is indeed here, it's going to cost a wee bit to get him back. Right. And he leads you up the stairs. And as you breach the stairs, I'll give you a wee description of what you see before we actually go to the scene for you guys in the game. So you breach the top of the stairs, and what you see is it's a very long, narrow sort of room. Off one side, there's a corridor leading off to your left. As your immediate left, as you breach the top of the stairs, there's a corridor leading to the left. And to your right, about halfway up the room, a set of double doors. And on the left-hand side of this room, along the left-hand wall, or what would be the eastern wall, some tattered old curtains covering what you can only assume would be another doorway as such. Old leather patchwork curtains, holey and tattered. And the flickering torchlight of a couple of wall sconces that you see, one at the very end of the room is a stone chair, or a stone, almost like a mini throne at the southern end of the room. And seated upon this chair, looking down over, it's sort of a raised platform to him, almost like it would be a throne room or like an observation area, is a dark, sort of purpley grey skinned creature. I would say that none of you would ever have seen a creature of this type before. Tentacles hanging from the bottom part of his face down to just below chest height, and they do move and sort of wriggle. You can see his head moving as though he's speaking, but you hear nothing. In his arms is another small creature. He's almost cradling like an animal, like a cat. It looks like from this distance from here, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what it is, but it's glistening and wet, and it has appendages like legs, but it doesn't seem to have a head as such. It's almost just like a little bulbous body, but he seems to be stroking it like an animal. As the Duergar sort of walks you up towards the center of the room, you then see the Grumshar, the half-orc, bulky half-orc. He's in fine leather armor. He's got a cape, and you can see that he's cast some form of magic down in front of him, and then you hear the sort of almost soft wail of a human, like a man, sort of, and as you sort of catch a glimpse of what's kneeling in front of him, you spy what you would believe to be Floon Blagmar kneeling in front of this individual. Bruised face, bound with his hands behind his back, and this Grumshar, you can only assume that this Grumshar is doing something to him. You can see tears streaming down one side of the face that you can see. You're not entirely sure what's happening. I'd say, Elliot, you might understand, and Jane, you may even, or being a druid, probably not. Elliot, you might understand that he may be playing with his mind, perhaps. You've seen something similar. You've experienced it yourself at the hands of your passenger, shall we say, that pressure on the mind that can cause pain and obviously other things as well. The Duergar sort of walks forward and says, and at this point, the figure at the head of the room stands, and his head moves again. Grimshar stops what he's doing and sort of turns over his shoulder and looks over at you, and then turns back to the individual standing in the room, and you see him nod. And the individual stands, puts the creature down on the seat, and almost floats. In fact, he does. You see him sort of lift up maybe an inch, half an inch off the ground, toes pointed downwards. The long, slender arms and hands and fingers, longer than a regular human. You would estimate this creature would probably stand, if he were standing properly, at about 7 feet tall, but very thin, very leathery, purpley skin, bulbous head, and tentacles. Floats down the stairs past Grimshaw and heads towards the double doors. Do you do or say anything at this point? Any of you?
Wait for all that to take place. And
so you do nothing?
To speak before.
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. So this individual stops at the double doors. The doors seemingly open by themselves. You can't really see into this darkened room, but you can see it's a largish room from what you can tell as you sort of glance over. And the individual stops, turns back again, looking at Grimshar, and Grimshar nods again. You don't hear any communication, but you see him nod in reciprocation of something. And then its eyes stop and fixate solely on you, Elliot. And you hear you feel a soft pressure on your mind. No need for a save for this. It's not anything untoward. You just feel a soft pressure, but your passenger, shall we say, you feel them fight back for you. That darkness within you rises. You feel that pressure rise within your own entity, and you hear your friend, "Get out." And then just off the edge of your mind, you just hear a soft laughter. Just a whisper of a laughter that you know is not you. It's not what's with you. It's something else. And you can't seem to break eye contact from this creature, and you know whatever has just transpired is because of this creature. This creature's tried to enter your mind. But because of who you are and what is with you, it has guarded you against that for some reason. And the individual turns and floats through the door, and the doors close quite audibly behind it and is gone, leaving you alone in the room with Grumshar, this little creature sitting on the chair not too far from you. We will now take you guys. I'm going to turn off the sewer water because you definitely don't have sewer water in here. So I'm just going to pause that. So again, no combat at this stage, so we're not going to go to the combat scene, but that's essentially what you guys are seeing, where you guys are at. I will turn you around so you're all facing the right way on your end, but you are all standing now waiting as the half-orc individual turns. I will unpause it, just don't move yourself, just so you guys can see. He turns and speaks with the Dwergar. Again, they're speaking together in sort of hushed tones. You can sort of hear murmurings, but they're trying to speak in such a way that you're not able to make out exactly what they say. And then the Dwergar steps to one side, stands over by where the other individual disappeared through the door as Grumshar steps forward. So I hear you've got a deal for me. For this one, perhaps.
I believe so. Yes.
So what is this one to you?
We've been tasked with his safe return.
Oh, is that right? And who has tasked you with this endeavor?
One Volo.
That's cad. Well, figures. And why does Volo want this returned?
I believe it's a matter of friendship, but
does he really have any friends? I think not.
Well, as this gentleman here seemed of much intelligence, it's very likely he is a friend of Volo.
Thing is, my boss, the person I'm tasked to do things, wants this individual interrogated and then returned to him. So we have a bit of an impasse. I've not yet completed my task. And here you are, attempting to make a deal. So make a deal.
So I'm guessing the interrogation has pointed out that this man is indeed called Floon Blagmar.
Many individuals go by other names. I'm sure you're well aware of this. You look like the type to use other names, perhaps in your worldly view. And he sort of says, he's looking you up and down, noting your age.
Quite right, quite right.
Matter of time before we get to the truth of things.
From what we've heard, you're actually looking for the son of Lord Netherember, I believe.
Indeed we are, and I believe we've found who we're looking for. And he turns and sort of looks back and sort of waves a hand, and you visibly see a large hand apparate and just belt flown across the back of the head.
I mean, I understand that noble humans, they tend to look alike. They're very foppish, very empty-headed in general.
Oh, scum, a lot of them.
But I believe you might have the wrong man in this instance.
Oh, you do you?
I do.
And what proof have you got of this feeling you have?
Well, we spoke to the gentleman you're after in the cupboard back where your men grabbed this one.
See him give a look over to the Duergar, and the Duergar sort of shrugs his shoulders and like, no, I mean, we grabbed it, like almost like, well, we grabbed who we were told to grab kind of thing. And he looks back at you and goes, well, is that right? And who did you speak to at this cupboard?
By the son of Lord Neverember himself.
Yeah, what was his fucking name? Does Grum not remember?
Grum does not remember what his name is.
Raynar.
Raynar
never remember. You would, Elliot would remember.
Elliot would remember, yes. Raynar Neverember, I believe.
Well. And what proof do you have that this was Raynar Neverember and not who we have here?
Caught me at an impasse there, because realistically I don't have anything other than my word.
Yes, well, you can see that I'm not going to take you at your word. I mean, your word is about as good as my word in these situations. However, I do have a solution. If you will permit me, of course.
Yes.
I have a way of determining the truth. It will be a little uncomfortable. It will not hurt, I assure you. And you see him raise a hand, and you see a slight arcane glow start to emanate from his right hand as he raises a hand towards you.
Just myself, not my companions. And Elliot sort of looks back at them, almost like, I actually don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to make sure you don't get fucked.
Well, did your friends witness this Raynar Neverember as well?
They're off
he turns,
dealing with Kenku?
He turns and looks to you, Jane, and says, you, miss, did you meet this Raynar Neverember?
I most certainly
Can
did.
you corroborate? I mean, not that I'm going to believe any of you because you're all friends, but can you corroborate his story?
I can indeed.
And you, looks over to you, Dags. You can corroborate this as well.
Yep, I found him hiding in some sacks.
Fucking sounds like a noble. And what about you? You're a bit quiet. He sort of looks over at you, Xerxes, and sort of gives a bit of a sideways look at the mask and the armor and says, and can you corroborate this story?
I look around at the other three, and I just sort of say quietly, "See, if Droplet were here, he would have told exactly what we were looking for and proven it."
What is a droplet? And the Duergar says, hey, we go. He got another one. He wouldn't give up his weapons, so wouldn't allow him to come see you. He's waiting back with Harry down the corridor with their weapons. Is that right? Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe we should get this droplet up here and so I can hear their side, what they have to say, if you say that they can prove this. Although I like this better. And he reaches out, Elliot, and without any warning at this point, reaches out and touches you on the shoulder. And in an instant, you feel, again, immense pressure on the back of your mind. Do you resist?
No.
I need to make a quick roll here to see if your friend resists. Seems they do not. So the pressure is, it's almost migraine inducing. It doesn't hurt per se, but it definitely you have that pressure on the back of your mind. And you see the half-orc's eyes roll back in his head, roll over white, just for maybe a second or two. And then he releases his grip from your shoulder and his eyes roll back and he says, well, it appears you're telling the truth. And he turns and shoots a very pointed glance over at the Duergar. Now comes the deal part. We may have not who we're looking for, but what can we do for you to secure this individual for your friend? What is it? What are you willing to offer for his life?
It's hard to determine the worth of a foppish human noble's life, but probably in some amount of financial arrangement.
At that point, I step forward and I say, "Me."
Why would I want you? Look at you. Gimpy. Fucking, you smell funny. Ain't I seen you someplace before?
Maybe you have, but I'm here potentially to offer my services to your boss.
Oh, really? Interesting. Are you speaking for all of you or just you?
Is it a deal or not?
I ain't decided yet. One life is not worth the same as the others. It's a point of what can you do, what can you actually offer, and if you're being truthful or not. Many factors, you see.
I could offer you some more information on that, but it might be best served in more higher up ears, so to speak.
higher up is, you think? You think I'm not the highest you can get in this place? Short of my boss, I'm as high as it gets.
I just stand there and look particularly at the Dwarga.
The Dwarga sort of, it gives you almost like a look, like don't piss him off. It's that whole kind of half shaking of his head, his eyes sort of drop as he catches your gaze. Right, so you think, I mean, not that we're not always recruiting. I mean, you know who we work for, I'm guessing, but if you made this offer, you must have some understanding of who we are. Do you have any understanding of how things work here in Waterdeep? Do any of you, for that matter? Do you even fathom what you're getting yourselves into?
This offer would be for me specifically, not the rest of my group. They can help me if they wish.
You see, it doesn't really work that way. If you are invited to work for us, then any individual that is with you would also be under that umbrella and would be subject to our laws and our rules. So they would all have to agree, otherwise it doesn't work, really. I mean, unless you're wishing to leave this group and let them go on their merry way.
I take a step back.
My companion here, possibly a little rash. I feel like his appearance might belie that a little. I'm sure you've noticed.
You all look reasonably capable. I mean, you must be, because you got this far. I mean, of course, not many get this far and make it to this room specifically without losing a limb or a life, or at least something. So I'll give you all credit for that, at least. But I would have to discuss with my superior if we are even recruiting at this point, although we generally are quite often. And then, of course, we may come to you with an offer in the future. But right now, city streets are rather noisy. Those newfangled horse and carts are very loud. But what we can do is make this deal, and on the shape of this will determine how you are treated in future by members of the Xanathar Guild. So, let's talk dragons. How many do you think this individual is worth to you?
Currently, on my own back, I can offer you 20 for this fool. And he sort of looks back at the others.
I can add 9.
9. She's German now.
Possibly a little bit more, but I'd have to go and collect it.
What has happened with Discord? Right, there we go. Well, that poses a little bit of a predicament, doesn't it?
I could offer 20 myself.
So we're at 40 so far. Any advance on 40?
49 with mine.
49. 49 so far. What about you? And he looks directly at you, Xerxes.
I stare him down and say nothing.
Interesting. This one I don't like very much. He turns and says to the Dweger, he got an air of arrogance about him. Kind of like that too, to be fair. But not in this instance. 49's not enough. I need 65 dragons before I would agree to let him go. And on top of that, your word not to leave town, because we may have a need of you at some point. I'm in a generous mood. I kind of like you lot. I mean, shows intelligence and nous to come here and confront the Xanathar Guild like this. Not smart from this one, but we can deal with that. So, can you do 65?
Can we do 65?
What about this droplet? Can they
It's possible.
make up the balance? Because clearly this one's not interested in helping you or your so-called friend.
I mean, he offered you his life. A man who values money over his life would be ridiculous. Surely the man has none.
Well, as I said, one life is not worth the same as another. And we need information, you see, not lives.
You need information.
Information, I dare say, you do not have, my man. Otherwise, you would have offered it already.
I kind of did, but not in this full room of company that we have.
Yes, but the information I'm looking for, I'm quite certain you do not have.
Perhaps you're right.
And I myself am not willing to give too much information, as you are no faction members, shall we say.
Say my companion has some information for you, and maybe it's our company he does not wish to share this information in. If we head back to our Avine friend and see if he has the necessary funds, you may have a discussion with my companion here. Maybe he does, offhand, have the information you require.
He looks at you and he's like, I can see why you are the spokesperson for this group. A little more brains. I mean, this could have been said by your friend. Would have made things a whole lot easier. I agree. Dwarf, take these people back to their friend to see if they can procure the balance of the 65, collect the gold, and bring them back. You and I will have a discussion while they're gone. All right? Is that agreeable to you? Looking at you, Xerxes.
It is agreeable.
And with that, you, the Dweger leads you back down the corridor. We'll stay on this in this scene, the map scene, but he leads you back to the corridor, back to where Droplet is. We'll follow that group back for the time being, back to where Droplet is waiting patiently. So Droplet, in this room, the human that's with you, you get the impression he's dealt with Kinku before, because he doesn't talk to you per se, but he gives you a nod as almost recognition that you've agreed to stay, and he gives you a look as if to say, hey, don't try anything or I'll have to hurt you, kind of deal. But he doesn't say that to you per se, and he just takes a seat watching you, maybe 10 feet from you, as you have meticulously laid out your friend's weapons and items in their particular order, and nice
Size
and,
order, smallest to largest per person.
there you go.
Using the nearby rags to polish anything that doesn't look sheeny enough, in his opinion.
And after probably about an hour, I would say, roughly an hour has gone by, and then you would then hear footsteps coming back down that corridor, and emerging from the darkness of the long corridor is Elliot, Jane, Dags, and the Dwerga, but no Xerxes. We'll stay with you guys for a minute. You can have your discussion there, Elliot, if you wish, as you guys return.
Hopefully we haven't dropped Mr. Dufresne in it.
Just so you know, as you guys all start wandering in a line, Droplet looks at each of you in turn, and then is just staring off down the corridor, waiting.
He stayed behind just to have a talk. It's okay, Droplet.
He looks at you, and then looks back down the corridor, and does a little anxious bird hop.
Hopefully we'll join him shortly. It's a matter of coin. And Elliot rummages around in the bottom of his bag because he's got one or two left. And he's like, these, more of these. Do you have some?
We need about 16, I think.
Droplet rummages around in his pouches and pulls out a pile of 10 gold coins in one hand and a pile of 2 silver coins in the other, and just looks at you.
May I take them from you? And Elliot
offers them out.
holds his hand and waits for you to put them in his, he's not going to grab them out of your hand.
There is an awkward interaction where we both sort of look at each other and look at each other's hands for a moment, outstretched, before he gets the idea. Places them in your hand.
Right, still a little short.
I do have another 9 silver and 9 copper.
Yes. Wouldn't give away all our money if I didn't think it'd be our lives otherwise. I have 3 gold remaining, but it's still insufficient.
Where are we up to so far?
49 and 2 silver. Or 59 and 2 silver.
59.
59.
2 silver. And if I give the other 9 silver, that'll make it 60. And then Elliot's other 2 gold, 62.
3.
So we're
down
2
2 gold.
Leaves you 2 gold short.
Maybe we need to just ask Mr. Dufresne to give us 2 gold.
Well, I mean, if his information is worth a lot more than our 65 gold, maybe we can keep it all, but I have my doubts. I'm sure Mr. Dufresne is quite resourceful, and it's kind of why I was okay with leaving him in there, but...
For all we know, he won't be there when we go back.
I actually thought I had more gold in my bag. But I don't.
You give it away so liberally.
This is true.
Droplet shakes his coin pouch out in front of you, and you realize that there is not a single clatter, as it is very empty.
It's okay, Droplet.
I mean, I highly doubt it, but maybe he'll take some of these ball bearings. Just hold up a bag.
That's the thing. As long as you're alive, you could make more money. But I think we need to go back with Droplet, which is going to be an issue with the sword.
And maybe we could ask Mr. Mr. G to come here to meet Droplet.
I doubt that.
Any solutions, Mr. And he sort of looks at the Durgar. It's like, I don't believe I got your name, and I'm
Ari.
talking to you.
My name's Ari.
Ari.
No, Harry.
Harry.
What she said.
Like Harry?
Adi.
Ari, exactly.
Is that it?
Adi.
Harry.
What do you want me to suggest? No weapons allowed. He's got a proof. He said he got a proof. He believes you. It's just now it's the price you're haggling over. I wouldn't have shortchanged him. He didn't like that.
Is there a bank nearby that I could...
We're under the fucking city, love. Where do you think he's going to be a bank down here? Fucking hell.
Droplet drops his beak, and you hear in an unusual voice you haven't heard before. Goods for services, services for goods.
Right. Well, maybe we can leave Droplet here then, with his blade, and we'll head back. But
Right.
he does seem like the man who would be quite upset. -2.
He's not one to be disappointed, shall we say?
Yes.
Would
And he holds up
anybody like to
his
buy
right
some
hand,
rope?
and he's got 2 fingers missing from his right hand.
Well, I think we just have to ask Xerxes for 2 gold and just say this is what we have offered and this is what we could come up with, and just
Yes.
won't kill him.
Right. Let's head back then.
Does anybody want to buy some rope?
The Duiga just looks at you and shakes his head.
Maybe
And we'll
a hammer?
leave you there for a moment and head back to Xerxes and Grumshar. So Xerxes, as your companions leave the room, leaving you in the room with Grumshar, obviously Floon, who is sort of he's swimming in and out of consciousness at this point. You can see he's taken a bit of a beating, and the little creature that was on the chair, or the throne type chair at the back of the room, has moved down, is now beside Floon. Now that you can sort of get a better view of it, it's disgusting looking. It's literally a brain on legs. And it looks like it's almost got a little tongue that comes out of it, and it's sort of, it's odd. You've never seen anything like it before, and a little bit concerning as well. Very slimy. Makes some odd noises as it walks. Doesn't seem to faze Grimshore. He doesn't even sort of glance over his shoulder as you sort of hear it moving around. And he walks directly up to you. And how tall is Xerxes? Not very tall, is he?
He's 6'1".
6'1"? I'd say he's probably about the same height, but because he hunches over and the way he walks, the half-orc would stand over him a little bit. But he walks directly up to you, and you can see like he has confidence. He's very broad-shouldered. I mean, most half-orcs are quite muscular as well, and you can see the size of him under his armor and his cloak and everything. You've obviously noticed that he has magic, but he also carries a very nice sword, very nice looking sword at his left hip. Long sword by the looks of it. And he walks up to you, sort of looks you up and down, walks around you, and then comes back around, like literally walks around you, not taking his eyes off you, comes back around to the front of you again. All right then. Out with it.
What I have to offer is an offer that I make here and now and not again.
Spare.
This is what you see here with these injuries that I carry. I got these. I earned them while I was in the service of the Zentarum.
At the mere mention of the word Zentarum, you instantly see him stiffen and he just spits on the ground.
I spit beside it.
Oh, I see. So you're him. You're the one he made an example of.
I am he.
Well, well. You're very bold, ain't you? Coming back to Waterdeep.
I think you have to be walking in these shoes.
Indeed.
Walking in my path.
So this begs the question. Why are you back in Waterdeep? Are you looking to get back in or to get back at?
I want my vengeance. Perhaps you and your crowd are the ones to help me get it.
Of course we are. You've seen the bodies in the streets. Xenophar's making his move, pushing out Manchun and all his ilk, and the rest of them. So
But if we do make this...
it seems we might have a different sort of a deal. But like I said, not just you. We need more than just one.
You will have to ask them all individually.
Of course,
I cannot speak for them.
So what are you offering besides your undying service? Because if your track record's anything to go by, it's a little iffy.
What I can offer is the location of something special. Something that I was trying to find when I got this.
What would that be?
All I know is it is a special artifact held in deep regard by those of the Zentarum leaders.
Right.
And particularly him.
That would be very valuable to Xenophar, I believe. Anything to put it in the face of that cunt.
Indeed. Since
Well,
he took mine.
I'll take your word for that. He's sort of looking at the mask. And he sort of gives it. He actually taps it with his one of his long fingernails. You can see his fingernails are quite almost sharpened to a point. He sort of gives it a tink tink on the mask. So, when your friends return here with the gold, we may strike a little bit of a bargain with what you have just said to me. I mean, this clearly is not who we're looking for. With that, still going to be some
first.
It's still going to be some gold. We don't do nothing without gold around here. You know that. It's how the factions work.
As a sign of good faith first, I pull out my purse and I take out 15 gold. And I just say, take this as an advance. Perhaps you can offer them a deal to coerce them to join. They may not join willingly, but if you drop the price, perhaps they'll join. And don't say that you already got some money from me.
We could do that. I think that might... You're smarter than you look. And that's saying something, because you don't look very smart.
I'll take that as a compliment.
But you're smart enough to make a deal with Xenophar. That's a smart move in the city. Xenophar's taken over. Right, so... That be said, we'll wait for your friends to return and see what happens. And after maybe 10 or 15 minutes, at the end of the conversation, with the conversation you guys had, you return to the room And as you sort of walk up, get closer to where Xerxes and Grumshar are, you are now all get a good look at this creature that's now sitting beside Floon. And like I said, it's disgusting looking. A horrible looking thing on legs. Looks like a human brain, about a little bit larger than a human brain. And it's at this point that Grumshar turns to it and doesn't say anything, but the thing then scuttles off and disappears behind one of these curtains. And he turns to you, Elliot, and says, all right, so did you get the dragons for me, yeah?
We got some more dragons, yes. My companion of any aid to you?
Somewhat. We had a interesting discussion. I'll tell you what. How much did you get, firstly? Did you get it all?
We did not.
That does not make me happy.
No. I assumed.
How much?
I'm sitting at 60.
Oh, we got to do it. We got to do it. Elliot, you need to make a deception roll for me.
No. Right.
Jane just kind of eyes Elliot out the side of her.
I need to make a perception roll. Oh, insight. Nope, you're good. 60, you say? Is that all you got? Just 60? Everything?
Yes. We've only just started in the city, I'm afraid.
He sort of looks at you, Xerxes, and walks past you, giving you just a bit of a sideways glance, steps up towards you, Elliot, holds his hand out, and says, feeling generous. Tell you what, 45. You got a deal.
Yes. Yes, I think we can make that work. And he sits his hands out.
You hand over the 45?
Yeah.
He takes it, pockets it, doesn't ever turn his back to you, sort of walks sort of sideways and back around the room and always turns quickly and always facing you, never has his back turned to you at any given time for any length of time. And says to you, Xerxes, we'll be in touch with you. In the meantime, stay out of trouble. Avoid the Zentarum at all costs. Avoid the city guard too, bunch of pricks. Got to be careful, you know. Keep your nose above water, ground, whatever. Be careful. But we'll be in touch. But for now, you can take this one. He's a bit beat up. You might have to carry him. But Xanathar's looking for something. And he will pay handsomely for anyone who helps him find it. So if you are looking for a job, a real job, with the most powerful faction in Waterdeep, it's right here. Bear that in mind. We will see you again. And get the fuck out of here.
Indeed. Let us make haste.
And with that, you are given leave with Floon. Floon is picked up by the Dwergar. He's dragged to his feet. His binds are cut. He's semi with it. He's sort of in and out of consciousness. You can see he's wearing the clothes that would have described to you almost perfectly, although they are far dirtier than what they would have been when he was first taken. Bruised, battered. He sort of, the Dwergar's not gentle, sort of shoves him forward towards you guys. And you are then led back down the corridor. Back to the room where your weapons were held. Your weapons, unfortunately for Droplet, the weapons are collected by the human and scooped up, rolled up in a big blanket, sort of slung over his shoulder, as you are then led back through the passageways, back out to the door that leads back into the sewer, where your weapons are unceremoniously dropped on the ground outside the door. The Dwergar says, right, as he said, we'll be in touch. Don't leave the city. Not always idea. But like you said, if you're looking for gold, and good gold, Xanathar's the guild you want to be working for. Good money. Yeah, good perks too. Lots of hideouts and some great places. As he takes a deep breath in. You get the impression he loves it down here for some ungodly reason. And the door is, as he steps back through the door is swung shut, and you hear a heavy bolt sort of slid across as you're now shut back out into the sewers. And we'll switch back over to this map, because eventually you're going to make your way back through the sewer with Floon. Floon is, I say, semi-conscious. He's not really with it. He does mutter the words sort of thank you and I need a drink. Is about all he can muster. He will need aid as you are walking, so whichever of you is aiding him, you will be moving a little slower, but eventually you will make it out of the dock, out of the sewers and back to the streets. Do you go back to where you entered the sewers, or do you find the nearest grate, is the question.
Can we find the nearest grate, please?
The nearest exit is probably take you about half hour to find.
That's quiet.
As you ascend the ladder, this one has a ladder to it, as you ascend the ladder, you sort of peer through the grate. You can see that the sun is getting low in the sky. It is starting to get towards the end of the day. And the small street that you've come out on looks to be a little quieter than the rest of the streets. You look around for city guard, there's no city watch anywhere, and you breach the street, you come up, you close the hatch, and you find yourselves a few streets over from where you were, on the street, a street of curtains, you would know it as, Droplet. So again, an area you know reasonably well. It is approximately, it's south of where the Yawning Portal is, not far from Candle Lane, from where you were, and not far from the Skewered Dragon. So
At this point,
it's up to you where you're going to go.
Is there somewhere close that we could go and perhaps just spend an evening to rest? Before taking this one back?
There's many inns around Waterdeep. The one you know, obviously, is the Yawning Portal, which is probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours walk. It'll be dark by the time you got there, but that's probably the closest inn that you know. Droplet may or may not know of a place closer. It won't be an inn, it might be just somewhere you could hold up. He's probably got little places all over the city. Yeah, little safe shacks and houses all over the city. So he would, it wouldn't be an inn, it wouldn't be...
Not very big,
but like I said,
somewhere to rest.
Somewhere to rest properly would be an inn, and the Yawning Portal would be the closest one to you. That would be worth it. Unless you want to go back to the Skewered Dragon.
Could make sense to go to the Yawning Portal, though, because Volo would be there at night.
Volo would definitely, he said he would be there till late this evening.
Oh, well, might as well go there then. That's just, yeah, I wasn't sure if we were too far away to get there tonight.
No, he definitely said he would be there late this evening basically try and obviously find his way back. Well, hopefully you guys will find your way back there and
Got High Road.
Or we could just hit Snail Street.
Or the Way of the Dragon. Through
let's
Slot
just see
Street.
where I'm at on my things here.
Went up the High Road from Brian's. Oh, go up to Brian Street. Then up the Way of the Dragon.
From where you are, you're better off heading straight up Snail Street. You're on the Street of Curtains, which is about there.
Oh, I was sorry. I was over on Curtin Alley.
Yeah, so you've just come out on the Street of Curtains, which is a small side street just off the main thoroughfare of Snail Street, which leads you directly northward towards where the Yawning Portal will be.
Straight up Snail Street.
So as you are walking, heading back northward, Floon drifts in and out of consciousness. Often you have to sort of prop him up and carry him. He's not looking very good. He's been heavily tortured and heavily beaten.
As I am helping him along.
Yeah.
My mind lost in thoughts, somewhat nervous and anxious as to what just went down.
Yeah.
And what he actually did. He put on a show that he wasn't really feeling inside. And as he's distracted, 5 points of lay on hands goes through to Floon.
No worries. Which kind of perks him up a little bit. And again, he turns to you, Xerxes, and thank you. I'm feeling a lot better. Thank all of you. Thank the gods for all of you. Oh, I'm still not entirely sure what happened. And he starts to ramble a little bit, not really making a whole lot of sense. Gotta find out where we are. That's the end of that one. Ah, there it is.
Jane, Dags, Droplet, here. And he hands you each 6 gold that makes up the rest. The stuff that was not taken. And he sort of looks at the silver and he looks at Droplet and he's like, he just holds his hand out to him. And some of that's Jane's silver, but he can't remember silver. Nobody cares about silver.
No worries.
He holds it out to you, whether you take it or not.
There's an awkward moment where Droplet looks at you and your hands and has his hands held out.
That he drops
before
it in.
he then scoops all of those silver coins into his hand.
Nice.
Looks at them intently, tilting his head around until he finds the 2 silver coins in the pile that he recognizes. Takes those out.
Awesome. I love it.
Puts them in his pouch and then holds his hand back out to the group.
It's very handy. Right you are. Jane, I believe this is your change. And he sort of like chucks it to you.
I looked, just seeing what Droplet had done with the silver coins. I hold my hand out with my gold coins just to see if he recognizes any.
He takes a moment to look through just in case. He'll reach into his pouch and look around for the ones that he doesn't recognize as well and just trade out the ones that he finds.
I love it. That's awesome.
Nice.
Highest level of OCD. It's great.
And then Elliot, in his own head, he's like, I'm about money, am I? How about fuck you? And he just got this big grin on his face and he just keeps walking.
Would we notice the change in demeanor of Elliot as he did that?
It's up to Elliot. I'd say so.
He's quite bolstered by the fact that he's done a thing that he thinks shows the passenger that he's beyond
Okay.
Which, whether that's true or not, it's another matter.
Or I think what Elliot would feel in this moment is almost like it wouldn't be resentment at all. Like you like even though you literally just said fuck you to this thing, this entity, you almost get the impression that he's laughing at you. Like it's that kind of feeling, that little bit of a torment in return still, like it just not phased by anything that you've had to say or feel. But you've now got a real powerful thirst for whiskey too, just saying.
As we're walking, I'm going to assume that Jane had put my lantern on her hip.
I don't know what Jane did with it.
Yeah, I would have. I'll take it out and light it, and because we want to be able to see.
There are in Waterdeep there are street lights, so you're on the street. So Waterdeep is one of those cities that's a little bit more innovated than the smaller towns. So being in a larger city, the city streets, there are street lamps that are lit every night by street workers and doused every morning.
If that's the case, then I would hand it back to Dags.
I mean, they're not great street lamps. They're oil lanterns, but they are lit every night, and they do provide enough light to see as you walk northward.
I was going to say as well, Droplet noticing any lantern attached to anyone's belt or being lit to light the way, he would look at them and then start looking around for the nearest entrance to the sewers.
She definitely takes off her hip and hands it back to Dags.
No.
As I get it, I'm just gonna kind of,
Yeah.
pull out a rag and kind of
So
clean it
Xerxes, your deed may or may not have an impact on yourself. Obviously, now has you a little bit distracted. Actually, what I'll get everyone to do at this point, I'll get everyone to roll a perception check for me. Do it from your character sheets. As you're now walking northward along Snail Street or heading back towards the Yawning Portal. I'm going to hazard a guess that most of you now will be probably a little more aware of your surroundings, considering what has just taken place. So we've got Droplet.
Mine's a disadvantage because it's sun out, right?
No, the sun is probably at a point where it's not going to affect you so much. So yours will be a normal roll at this point. The sun is low enough in the sky where it's really not going to have an issue. You just made a private roll. You need to set it to public. Yeah. Well, you can just reveal the roll. Just right click it and reveal to everyone. There you go. So we got Jane doesn't notice anything. Everyone else does. The DC was a 10. It wasn't a hard one to roll, but Jane maybe a little bit preoccupied with handing the lantern back to Dags, or maybe even keeping an eye on Floon, as he's still not totally with it, but he's better.
Going along. I'm also thinking about the chap that we met in the sewers and wondering if perhaps he was somebody I know may have known.
Roll a quick history check for me. I did see your thing in Discord, and I do know. Not specifically. You know that your husband had dealings with many of the factions in Waterdeep, or many of the factions around the Sword Coast, in fact. Many shady dealings. You do not recognize him specifically as someone that may have visited your home or dealt with directly, but definitely he would have had dealings with the Xanathar Guild, 100%. So you continue your walk northward. Everybody except for Jane. Across the street, as you're sort of walking, two figures stand out. Not like hugely stand out, but you get the feeling that these two individuals are not just walking in the same direction as you. They seem to be purposefully trying to avoid eye contact with you and sort of moving at a very similar pace. They're not dropping too far behind. They're sort of keeping pace with you as you continue your journey towards Yawning Portal. So all of you would notice these two individuals. You can't tell their race from where you are, but you know that you're being followed.
Would there be, perchance, a nearby snicket or alleyway?
There are
the
plenty.
dropper could try and just nip into and wait for people to go past, preferably without being seen.
There are plenty of alleys. These two individuals are on the opposite side of the street to you. They're not on the same side. So you are, if you are wishing to dip into an alley to potentially whatever you want to do, you can do that. Are you going to let your companions know that is what you're doing, or are you just going to do it?
I'm just going to do it.
Okay, I'll get you to roll a stealth check. And this will be against everybody's current perception roll. So since you've all just rolled one.
Just standard stealth.
Yep, standard stealth check as you want to sort of dart into an alley. That's pretty good. So the only one... Nobody notices Droplet just dart into an alley. Just as you just happen to be walking past a little side alley, little darkened alleyway. As you're heading northward, you're sort of talking amongst yourselves, maybe talking about the recent events that just happened. Maybe someone might be asking the question of Xerxes, what he discussed with Grumshar, who knows. But Droplet, you dart into a side alley, and you, for all intents and purposes at this point, remain hidden. Especially, you're hidden from your party, definitely. Let's just make a quick perception roll over here. As far as you know, you are hidden. And you wait, and you watch. What are you specifically doing? Are you watching for the two individuals to pass by your alley, or...
Yes.
Because they won't pass by directly, it'll be across the street. But...
Yeah. They're moving in the same direction, you say?
Yes. And
yes, I'll wait for them to sort of be, as far as I can tell, trailing us from the other side of the street a little bit further up, before I will then step back out, walk to their side of the street and sort of try and follow on.
Okay.
Observe if I can overhear anything or...
No problem. So, you do that. Any conversation the rest of the group would like to be having while you're walking?
Dags, I take you as a young man of the streets, and I feel like maybe you might have seen our, maybe not traveling companions, but interested parties. Any advice?
Well, I don't know. You mean the people over there? And I'll just kind of give a little side eye look to the other side of the street. It's more than likely what he meant by don't leave town.
That is the point. There are many interested parties in the city, though. I hope we haven't too much attention from various factions. And he sort of looks back at Xerxes. You're right.
Yes, I'm fine. Why?
I wasn't sure about leaving you in there with him. I'm glad to see you made it out the other side. Your business is your own, and I shan't ask what information you gave him to put him in such a good mood. You're free to give that as you will, but was a tad concerned.
Well, I didn't know exactly how you guys would take it, but well, why not? I told them where to find Lord Neverember.
I can't remember where he would be anyway, and I don't have any particular attachment to him. I mean, if that's what you felt you needed to do, then...
Well, I felt it kind of served two goals in one go. You know, we had to find Floon, bring him back, and we had to get out of there.
It's one rich fop for another. It's much of a muchness.
There was nothing that Volo said that prevented us from handing over Lord Neverember. Besides, we're out now, right?
This is very true. And then he sort of looks at the others, and it'd probably be at this point that he realizes he can't see Droplet, which wouldn't be uncommon, but...
Yes, Droplet is definitely nowhere to be seen as if you point it out. The others would probably notice it, obviously, if you pointed it out to them.
We've lost Droplet again. About some dark business, no doubt.
Well, speaking of those folks, it could be just making sure that we actually intend to do what we had said with Floon.
I think you're probably right the first time. Anyway, I'm tired. Let's just get him there, right? I want to sleep.
I second that.
I make a perception check against Mr. Dufresne.
What are you looking for specifically?
Looking for any sign of dishonesty about
That'd be an
what he
insight.
spoke.
Yeah, that'd be an
that's what
insight check. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
You're wanting...
I think I might be better at this.
So,
Nope, not really.
yeah, so Xerxes, deception or perception, make it privately. Whatever you decide you're going to roll, and just let us know what the number is. And insight from you,
Yep.
Mr. Elliot.
Yep.
Elliot rolls a 2. Did he beat or not beat your number, Xerxes?
he did not.
So, ergo, as far as you're aware, Elliot, what was said was the truth.
And he'd sort of mull it and then decide that he has no reason to distrust Xerxes and just move on, like sort of shift it out of his mind.
No problem. So eventually, Droplet, you spy the individuals that were tailing your party. They have not noticed that you're no longer with them. However, they pass. You see them pass on the other side of the street. You watch them as they pass. You then dart out using the shadows that the lanterns cast as the sun starts to disappear beyond the building tops, and just the street lights now light your way. You dart across the street and you start to tail them. How close do you wish to get?
Close enough that I might be able to hear any conversation they may have. Close enough to see their sort of movements, if they were to make any, but not much closer than that. I'm keeping a little bit of distance.
Okay, so...
Don't have a feet number for that.
Do you?
How far is hearing range, would you say?
Well, I'd say within 10 or 15 feet, you'd be able to hear, depending on how quietly they're talking, obviously. So ultimately, yeah, I mean, ultimately you'd be within 10, 15 feet. So I think you're safe as far as where you are.
Yeah, that's sort of
listening
the
to them.
distance. I'll just maintain that while eyeing them very carefully.
So, as you follow and try and overhear the conversation, no, that was me. The cams thing I had another window up over the top, so it stops him for a second. So what happens is this. You get part of a conversation sort of every now and again, the other people milling around sort of cut you off every now and again. But you hear them talking about not all of your party, just one in particular. You hear one of them turn around and say, "We've been told to follow the young one, the hooded one. Supposedly he's here looking for something. Boss says that he's not allowed to get his hands on it. So we've got to see where they go and then let them know." Right. Oh, okay. Just wanted to know. I mean, we get paid well and all, but fucking hell. Following strangers around town, you never know who they are. Well, there's like 5 of them. What, are you some kind of girl? 5? Jesus, we're taking on more than that in freaking orcs. We won, did we? And that's pretty much the gist of the conversation. So you would probably determine from what they've said in your current group, the only hooded the only individual that's remained pretty much hooded the whole time that you've known him, and the youngest in the group by far, is Dags. So you follow them for maybe, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. You get this information, and then they start to flow. As the closer you get to the yawning portal, they start to flow, and they look like they're getting ready to cross the street.
After hearing that, and that they've counted the group to be 5 people over there, they start to slow down. Droplet will not slow down until he is sort of right behind them, stood between them. And he opens his beak and they just hear, "You missed a spot."
What the? Fuck me! Sneaky little fucker. Shit. And they both just take off. Like, stay on the same side where you are and just take off running northward. And disappear into an alley themselves. Probably 15-20 feet in front of you. They sort of dart down an alley and disappear. Do you pursue, or do you just stay where you are?
I would nonchalantly try and take note of about which alleyway they went down ahead of me, about roughly how far, and when I get to about that point, just walking at normal pace. Just keep a good eye down those alleyways as I pass, just to see if they're still there. Look.
So by this stage, you guys would have been nearing the yawning portal, nearing the turn off. So you're up about this end of the Snail Street, and you're sticking to the sort of main roads. You're going to turn about there. So it was roughly around here they disappeared. So it was closest to the yawning portal. Whether they got the information they needed to continue following, you're not sure. Whether they've continued following in another fashion. You can make another perception check, Droplet, if you wish, to see if you notice them as you pass the alley.
I shall do.
The rest of you... 18, it's not too bad. Unfortunately, you do not see where they went. They have disappeared from your view. By this stage, I would say the rest of you, you probably weren't close enough to hear Droplet, but Droplet definitely is not stealthing anymore and has moved at a reasonable enough pace to probably come back into any kind of peripheral view from you guys at this point, especially if you're still sort of taking stock of where you are. And I know Xerxes would probably still be very cautious of being seen, so he's probably still very conscious of what's happening around him. So I would say Xerxes would be the first to sort of notice that Droplet is on the other side of the street from you, walking in the same direction.
Wait, how did he get over there?
And now the rest of you are aware that Droplet is on the opposite side of the street.
He has a knack for fucker. Droplet.
After having checked those alleys, Droplet will just bird walk and hop back across the street towards the party.
Again, easy enough done. The
That's how we
traffic's
would've gone
low.
across.
Yeah, the traffic's very low and light this time of the evening. They say the sun is now set. The light of the street lamps is all you have to light your way. You do eventually make it back to the yawning portal. Entering the portal itself, we will activate the scene. And you'll all move back. Oh, shit, move the bloodstains. The bloodstains are gone.
As we enter, I'm going to look at the group and say, so if anything jumps out of that thing again this time, I'm steering well clear.
So, with that, Floon's not on this area. But this is just a more of an ambient thing, just so you guys can see what's happening, whereabouts you are, and just to get the volume from the tavern. Here we go. So the tavern is relatively crowded this evening. A lot of people. You come through the door. You can. Floon has again thanked you guys several times, and is happy to be heading back to the portal. You've obviously informed them you're taking back to see Volo, and the moment you head back to the tables where you had once sat, Volo, you can see Volo is seated, is back to you, and one of the servers sort of gives him a shove and sort of points over to you as you enter the room, and he immediately stands, rushes over to Floon, embraces him, then grabs him by the shoulders and pushes him out at arm's length and says, what did they do to you? Oh my god, are you all right? And Floon just looks at him and sort of shakes his head. I'll be okay. I still don't know why they took me. Eye is killing me. And you see his eyes, one eye's virtually swollen shut. And Wallace says, quickly, come, take a seat. Quick, drinks, please, drinks. And he ushers you all to seat. Drinks are brought over. You can see Raynar is there with him as well, and Raynar sort of stands and gives you all a slight head nod and sort of greeting, and says, "Oh, you found him. Good. I'm glad. Please, meals and drinks are on me." He sort of looks at Volo, shoots him a bit of a look, as if to say, "You should be paying for this," but sits down with you and sort of push the tables together, and you all take a seat. So Volo sort of sits there, and after the statement from Ranier, sort of sheepishly looks at you guys and says, I have a small confession. I have but few coins to spare. But never let it be said that Volo reneges on a promise. I did say that I would pay you, and but here, allow me to present you with something more valuable than coin. And he holds out a scroll tube. Who takes it?
I'll take it.
And he hands it to you, Jane. Do you open it?
I do.
So he says, this here, it's a deed to a rather remarkable property, here in Waterdeep, in fact. We'll need a magistrate to witness the transfer and ownership, of course, and I'll arrange it. I'll arrange a meeting with one tomorrow. Of course, I can't do it this evening. And then after you've inspected the property and agreed if this is what you wish to do, then we will go to a magistrate and have the deed signed, and you'll take ownership of the property. Nothing more valued than property in Waterdeep, after all.
Is this not? This is not going to put you out on the street, is it?
No, of course not. I have many such deeds. Here, have a look, and he helps you sort of unfurl it, and he puts a glass on it as sort of to hold it flat. This is the deed to a place called Troll Skull Manor. It is a historic building in the North Ward, which you can obviously, if you accept the offer and get it signed over. It has been notarized. It looks legitimate. Jane, you probably of all of the group would understand how paperwork works. After all, you did pretty much all of the paperwork for your husband's business dealings, so you understand the propriety of paperwork. So you look over it and it looks legitimate. And hey, I mean, everything looks fine, and he's sort of waiting, sort of sheepishly waiting for any kind of response from any of you at this point.
I turn to the lads and look at them and I'm like, well, I guess if we're going to be basing ourselves here, it would be good to have somewhere to stay.
Indeed, we have been asked. Having a place to stay would be prudent.
How does everybody else feel about it?
Does Xerxes say anything?
I'm waiting to see if anyone else finishes first. I have a different maneuver.
Does Droplet say anything or do anything?
Muted.
Droplet is looking in his coin purse at those coins that he managed to recover from this previous escapade, and then looking at this piece of paper that he doesn't quite understand on the table. Looks around at the two of the party that have already said, it seems like all right. Looks back over at Volo and just says, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly.
And Dags, Volo sort of just gives you a nod. You get the impression he's just accepted your quirky sayings and just nods and smiles.
I'm
and
gonna
Dags.
turn to Floon. I'm gonna turn to Floon and just, you're a well-off man, aren't you?
He looks at you and this is all I have. What I am wearing. I'm not a rich man. I mean,
What a shame.
all I can offer you is my gratitude and my friendship.
Not saving your ass again.
I didn't ask you to in the first place.
Well, you're
But I'm
lucky
very
your
much
friend
appreciative.
asked us to. I suppose a house is cheaper than an inn.
Volo actually looks directly at you now, Xerxes, and sort of looks, doesn't say anything, just looks at you, waiting for you to maybe say something.
I turn my attention to Raina and I hold out my hand. Does he take it?
In what manner do you hold out your hand?
Like to shake.
To shake? He does.
And as I do, I pull him a bit closer and put my hand around as in a sort of hug at the same time.
Yep.
And I just whisper in his ear and I say, they're looking for you. best you stay out of sight.
And he grips your hand just that little bit tighter and gives you a clap on the shoulder and just gives you a nod. And at that point literally says, well, I believe I owe you something as well, as per my promise. And he reaches into his jacket. He's got a bit of a duster jacket on now. He reaches inside and pulls out a reasonably sizable coin purse and just dumps it on the table in front of you all. That is what I promised. Let it not be said that Radar never does not pay his debts. I shall now take my leave. Thank you all of you again for finding Floon and, of course, keeping me safe inadvertently. And he gets up, excuses himself, and heads for the door.
And I look over to Bolo and I just say, a deed is done and a deed is given.
Who takes the coin purse?
Elliot will grab the money.
Does Elliot look in the coin purse?
He does.
What you find inside is not just coin. There is a number of coin in there. There is, I would say, the equivalent of about 70 gold pieces, 70 dragon. And there are several gemstones, several small gemstones as well. There's a ruby worth about 50 gold. A small diamond worth about the same, and a sapphire which looks to be about the same size. You could probably estimate they're all about 50-ish gold each. You wouldn't know the exact value until you had them appraised, but you've all seen gemstones before. You've probably traded in gemstones. One in particular in your group would have more of an idea of what the value is. But him not knowing what's exactly in there right now would have no idea. But yeah. That's what you have in your coin purse, Elliot, as you pick it up and inspect it. So Volo speaks quietly and says, so tomorrow morning, if you are agreeable, then I shall take you to Troll Skull Alley and show you the property. And if you are agreed, we will then set a meeting with the magistrate and sign the deed. I have secured rooms here for you this evening, if that is acceptable to you. And again, you have my gratitude as well.
Are you covering the fees for the magistrate notarizing everything?
The magistrate owes me a favor. It is fine. So it'll all be taken care of.
Drinks to Floon, I suppose.
And Floon, indeed, and he just sculls back almost a whole pint of ale. You can see when he swallows, he grimaces as he swallows. You see the bruising and that. He's still in a bit of pain, although looking far better than he did when you first saw him. Volo drinks his smaller cup a little bit more delicately, not unlike a noble would. And the rest of you get food, you get drink. How much are all of you drinking is the question at this point. Are you going to be drinking, or just quietly drinking with your meal after your day's ordeal?
Quietly drinking for me.
Drinking.
Elliot drinks whiskey. As previously mentioned.
Yes, you're extreme hankering for whiskey right now. In fact, I would say the first two go down very quickly and very smoothly. It's pretty good whiskey here in Yawning Portal. The food and the drink in here is very, very good stuff. It's not top stuff. Elliot's probably had far better in other establishments, but it is very good. Dags, are you drinking? Or you just...
Dags is a chill drinker.
He's a chill drinker? What about Droplet? Does Droplet drink? Or does he just mimic what he sees from other people?
Droplet is tempted to continue in the fashion of those around him, but as of recent events, he's thinking back on a little earlier in his life. So he is requesting water.
Okay.
Rather than ale, and is giving any ale that is brought to him to Floon.
No worries.
He looks like he needs it.
Easily done, and Floon is happily obliging, and Floon is drinking. And he, funnily enough, for a younger man, he can hold his alcohol pretty well. Now,
blood red wine for Xerxes.
No worries.
That Droplet, remaining very sober, is trying to position himself most of the time around the room so he can keep an eye on the door.
Easy enough done from where you are.
In particular decides to walk in.
Easy enough done.
To people he's seen in the streets.
Exactly, I kind of figured. So easy enough done from where you are. You can position yourself in such a way, even with a crowded inn, you can watch the door relatively well. In fact, I would say that if you really wanted to, you could move. This is a double-storied inn, and it's all sort of horseshoed around, looking down over the portal. So you could even, if you wanted to, move yourself into a position on the second floor, which would give you a better view of the door.
Also, I can feel like I'm a bird.
So once again, does Droplet just move away and do that on his own, or does he attempt to sway the group to move to another table? Perhaps. There is gambling. There is gambling and stuff on the second floor as well, and card games.
Yeah, Droplet doesn't really mention any of it to anyone. He just
hops away. Obviously not stealthily this time, just sort of moves himself away. So this time it's more noticeable as Droplet sort of gets up from his meal and sort of hops and skips through the crowd and heading towards one of these spiral stairwells leading to the second level. Does anyone follow?
I'll be curious, I'll follow.
Yeah, Elliot will follow too.
So Elliot...
He'll excuse himself from the table.
Yeah. So Elliot and...
not excuse himself from the table.
Yeah, Elliot and Jane probably both excuse themselves from the table politely. Xerxes and Dags, what do?
Dags is channeling his inner Strider and is sitting in the corner where Droplet's character is right now, and he's just sitting there kind of smoking on a pipe, probably.
No worries.
Just making sure, like, he obviously is watching doorways, because that's just his nature,
him. Yeah.
He's just relaxing.
I got my goblet and I'm leaning on the side of the well, looking in, and every now and again I'll just pour out a small amount of the blood red wine.
And it's like looking over the edge of the well into the darkness below, and you can't see the bottom. It's definitely deep enough that it's deep and dark enough that you can't really see it. So as you sort of pour a bit of wine over the edge, you sort of wait and you listen, and you don't hear it hit the bottom. It's deep. It's very deep. So you can imagine that the troll that climbed out of here had a fair climb to make, but also you know enough about trolls to know that they are quite large and very strong and very agile, so he would not have had an issue climbing out of that well. It's a deep Waterdeep, exactly. So with that, the rest of you, Elliot, Jane, and Droplet, you move your way to the second floor. You find an empty table on the second floor, Droplet, and you take a seat and you sit and you watch. Elliot and Jane, do you join them at the table once you're up there?
Yes.
Elliot and Jane join you, and you can see that he's intently watching, and as you sort of look down to where his gaze falls, you can see that he's watching the doorway specifically, or in that general direction from where you are. And from where you are, you can see the doorway quite clearly. You're above everybody else. The railing is not a solid railing. It's like like a stair railing. It's got the wood slats, but big gaps between them, just enough to and it's wide enough you can stand out and put a drink on, but it's easily able to see down over the rest of the inn.
So Elliot, seeing how intently Droplet's watching the door, he'll sort of stop himself from asking a question he has for Droplet, and sort of he looks a bit pensive, and then he just keeps drinking and he just stand there like
No worries.
or sit there with him, keeping an eye where Droplet's looking.
Now, Elliot, the more you drink, you don't get drunk per se, but the more you drink, the less control you have over your friend, who finds it easier to maybe manipulate you in this state. And on the table next to you is looks to be human, maybe possibly mixed race, you're not entirely sure, but he seems to be watching you, or so you think, just almost side-eyeing you, if you will. And that darkness rises within you. So does the anger and the resentment for whatever happens to upset you these days. How you react to that is up to you at this point, but you're not happy about it in the slightest, about this person seemingly staring at you, or so you believe.
Oi, you! Keep your fucking eyes off me.
And the individual sort of, what you see, Jane, and Droplet, is as you hear Elliot speak and sort of look in the direction he's referring to, is not a well-built, but a tallish sort of human man, long scraggly brown hair, and he's got a daggers to his side. He's got some light armor on, and he sort of turns and looks at you, Elliot. He goes, "You fucking what? You got a problem?"
Have you got a fucking problem? Quit staring at me.
Why the fuck would I want to stare at one of you? Look at you.
One of me?
Fucking scaly motherfuckers. Go back to fucking hells where you came from, eh? What the fuck you doing here? We don't want you lot around here. And then his friend at the table looks to be maybe dwarvish, a little bit taller than dwarf. Like, he looks a bit bigger and a bit taller than a dwarf, but he's definitely got that look about him. So looks past his friend and says to you, Jane, you might want to just calm your friend down, eh?
Just as he's saying that, I'm about to stop. Jane stands up and touches Elliot on the arm and says, Mr. Duskborn, come and have a seat. Don't worry.
Comfortable hanging around with a fucking racist, are you?
No, come sit with us. And I look at whoever it was that just spoke to Elliot in that manner and said, excuse my friend, he's a little, on the tipsy side, but there's no excuse for that kind of manner.
Dude just scoffs at you and takes a big gulp of fucking his drink. Fucking tiefling lovers. Elliot, the darkness grows very quickly inside you, and that voice, you aren't gonna stand for that, are you? Surely not. Come on, do it. Did we lose Grim?
I think we
Possibly
might
he
have.
is frozen.
No! We lost Grim. He's looking.
Well, I can say.
No.
Ruh-roh.
As that moment started to grow, to help
Yes.
smooth this transition over, Droplet has moved to position himself between his group and this large being. It's almost definitely a foot or so taller than Droplet.
Easily.
And as Droplet puts one hand back towards Elliot, he stares with these piercing white eyes directly up
Well, did we lose
at the
everybody?
aggressor.
know.
He said his internet.
Yeah, no. I'd had lost my Discord cameras are all gone wonky because we lost Grim.
Everybody had
Everyone's
frozen.
moved. It's all good. But yes, Droplet, carry on, sorry.
Yes, he's staring into the eyes of this brutish person and just raising himself up as large as he can, trying to make himself as recognizable as he can as the local Kenku bounty hunter who has a reputation for never missing his mark. And he just says, "Don't be sorry. Be better. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold."
And that's who we'll call tonight's session. That's probably the perfect place to call it anyway. We'll resolve that in 2 weeks' time when Grim comes back.
Oh man, I just want to do something exciting.
Yeah, we'll save it for next week. Write it down so you don't forget. Because we're pretty much bang on 11 o'clock. So chat, and we lost Grim. We can't really carry on that whole situation without Grim.
No.
So we will reactivate this scene over here. Thank you very much, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. I do appreciate everybody for coming and hanging out with us once again. It's a shame we lost Grim at the end there. It was kind of just one of those things, unfortunately.
And Sticks is kind of half between yours, mine,
I
and
know.
his own.
It's the whole thing with
Sticks.
it's the whole thing
Grim
with
was a puppy.
with the overlay that I've got. I mean, I think I'm really going to look at running a different overlay so that if it happens again, it won't really matter. But we'll lose the names of obviously everyone, but I might be able to figure out something different. But people know who you are and who you're playing by now anyway.
Tell you, Neon's just gained a lot of weight and turned into a female.
Yep.
I wouldn't say a lot of weight.
I mean, 40 or 50 kilos is not a lot of weight, is it?
I'm
And
gonna.
then there is me.
Ooh.
Then Evil's no longer here. Evil does not make it back next week.
Evil's funeral is on Monday.
I mean, for a while there, Nutty was a puppy. So
Yes, yeah. I mean,
if anything, that could say something that she.
She might
She,
wild shape.
yeah. I mean,
no,
again,
well,
once Dill's internet is sorted, we should be able to go back to video.
Yeah. Which could possibly be by next session.
Yeah. So it really depends. So that's the goal, is to get back on the video, which we wouldn't have this problem. So, but this is why I hate using Discord. But anyway. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, players, for joining us again. Thanks, Grim. I know you're probably in there on Discord on your phone, in the Twitch on your phone. But Grim lost his internet because I know the weather's pretty hairy between New Zealand and Australia at the moment. So
Gary's right. Jeebus.
we're looking at some pretty nasty weather coming up in the next few days. So the next session will be the 2nd of next month. So make sure you're back here for that. We held some reasonable. We had 10 or 11. So we might keep the D&D here on Twitch for now, and we'll see how we go next month, and then we might ask people in Discord whether we think it's a good idea to move the move it over to Kick with the rest of the content and have it all in the one place, which might be the better option. Even though Kick's D&D categories are only just being put in, there are a few small streams there. There's not a big viewership for D&D over there right now, but it might be prudent for us to get over there and get it on the ground floor and maybe start building that community over there. And obviously we'll start low. I mean, hopefully most of you guys in the chat that are here tonight will go over there and watch us over there as well. So we'll definitely see. I might see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We might move it over there next week and sort of give it a trial over there and see what happens.
Question.
Yes.
Any
Yes,
possibility of a one-shot on our long break?
No. Hell no. Takes a lot longer than a couple of weeks to come up with the one-shot. And it's only 3 weeks. There's no long break.
I'm just curious.
There's no long break. We'll be playing on the 2nd, which is 2 weeks from now, and then 3 weeks after that on the 30th. So yeah, if it was going to be like a couple of months, then yeah, we'd probably look at a one shot. It's something like that, but a little bit more than a couple of weeks to prep for a one shot. But we'll definitely look at doing something in between. Like once we've done Waterdeep, between Waterdeep and the next adventure, I might look at doing another mini campaign. Perhaps we'll just see. Well, it depends on the transition time. If I've got everything ready, we can just about transition straight over into the new adventure and keep this going. So, but what I may look at is maybe a one-shot or a two-part one-shot Vampire the Masquerade story, perhaps, because that's the Vampire Masquerade is another one that I do enjoy. Oh, Grum's back! Yay! He made it back. What a time for your net to go out, man.
Oh, wonder how much of that you got.
We got right up to probably right before, just after you'd called a guy racist, basically.
Yeah, and I just called for a drink. I'm like, where do you get a drink in this fetid fucking hole?
Okay.
And then it's like,
you don't.
No,
yeah,
you don't.
So essentially what was happening at that point was your entity, your friend, was egging you on, basically pushing you to do something. So we'll pretty much pick up right there. We'll pick up at that point in the next session. So the last words that your entity whispered in your brain was, you're not going to let him get away with that, are you? Go on, do it. You know you want to. And you are already inebriated as well, which probably doesn't help the situation. So this may end up in a bit of a bar brawl. Possibly. We'll see. See how convincing Jane is. And Droplet has also stepped in potentially as a thwarting for the situation anyway, and has made an intimidating statement towards this gentleman. So
I caught a little bit of that.
Yeah. So again, we may get Droplet to repeat said statement at the beginning of next session, just to refresh everyone's memory. But yeah, so well done, chaps and chapettes, or chapette. Chat. Do our, because there was no battle this evening, should I not impose some bonus XP?
Fuck yes.
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the chat. and the players don't get to make that decision. I'm asking if the chat believe that it is worthy of some bonus XP. What are we sitting on? Because you guys did level up recently.
Yeah.
Oh, we leveled up in the first one.
Yeah, you leveled up in the very first
530
session.
out of 900.
Yeah, because we did get some extra XP for battle, for that battle, because of the way that I was running shit. So it did double up on the XP. So no one in the chat believes you should have any XP. Look at that.
Bastards. That's it.
No one said a word.
Again.
No one said a word.
Disgusting.
Wow.
So no bonus XP for the players. The chat doesn't like you. They didn't even give you any
We must
advantages or
suck.
disadvantages. I mean, not there's mini rolls. Yes, but kill Baz. Baz isn't in this campaign.
Ragnar said we should get some bonus XP.
Yeah, I knew I could trust Ragnar.
Of course, Ragnar would
Good
do that.
old Ragnar.
Look at that face.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't deny that face. I'm a softie for dogs. So, because Ragnar said 50 XP each. It's not a lot, but it's some. So you can mark that on your character sheets in Foundry.
Do you not do that?
Yes, I can do that, but you need to know how to do it.
Okay, how?
Just
type it
just
in.
alter it. Literally click on your current XP and type it in
580.
and hit enter.
Sweet. That was easy.
First time chatter. Was Waterdeep 3.5 or 5e? I think was the original Waterdeep 3.5. This is the fifth edition
maybe.
version. I'm not sure whether Dragon Heist was around in 3.5 or not. This is definitely the 5th edition version of it, though. But Waterdeep, I think, has been around since 3.5. Like the city of Waterdeep. I mean, the whole Sword Coast has been around since then. Faerun has been Faerun for a long time. But yeah, I think, I'm not sure if the adventure Dragon Heist was around in 3.5. We could find out, I guess. Let's do a Google.
I'd look it up, but I don't want to spoil anything for myself.
Well, I might as well look this up while we're here. Dragon Heist released in 3.5 edition.
See, and I know that Waterdeep is the main.
No, it was released in 5th,
place.
so the city itself, yeah.
What game
No,
is
you're
that?
good. You're
I've
good.
played it.
We're finished up. So yeah, Waterdeep. The city of Waterdeep has been around since early editions, because it's part of Faerun. Like Faerun, the map has been around for a long time. Sword Coast. So, but Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign is a 5th edition campaign. There you go. So we learned stuff. But that is the end of our session tonight. So we're going to get everyone to pick a moment from tonight as well, because we can. And I noticed Nutty was yawning before, so she's going to nan her out real soon. So we'll get through this.
Nutty always yawns.
So we'll start at the bottom this time. We'll start with Xerxes, aka Sticks and Stones, and we'll go around that way tonight. So Sticks, a moment that stood out for you tonight, whether it be a moment involving your character, preferably a moment involving someone else's character, but doesn't really matter, but just a moment that stood out for you maybe this evening.
There's been a few moments, I think, but I think probably the one that stood out to me was the handing over the 60 instead of the 62, like, or 63 that was supposed to be.
Yes, Elliot.
Trying to play the wool over like we both were.
Pretty much. A little bit of deception going around all around tonight, I think. It was good. And a moment from Dags, aka Dilcrip. Ooh.
The whole interaction with the illicit. That was very.
So that was to, I mean, obviously, if you guys had gone on there in a different manner, obviously in a more hostile manner, that would have been way different. I'm not going to tell you how different, because obviously if we ever run this again, we'd want to be able to have things still kept a little hidden, but that encounter could have gone way differently, definitely.
And I, like, in the back of my mind, I'm just sitting there like, okay, is my character like paying attention to that little brain that's crawling around?
All of you would have been, 100%.
Did they do something to Floon already? Like, in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there like,
yeah, but again, none of you would even know what an illicit is.
Right.
None of your characters
but, like,
specifically.
in the back of my mind, like me as a person, I'm just like,
you don't know.
This could be so cool.
You don't know what has happened or not happened to Floon, even at this point. But yes, the illithid is a nice touch, and that's actually written into the module, so it's not something I added. I was quite happy about that.
Grimm's like companion is just like that was just a really cool interaction.
Got to do it every now and again. Droplet, aka Neon Reptile, or just Neon. Either way.
As things go. For me, it had to be a moment that Droplet himself was not privy to. But when Xerxes stepped forward in the initial bargaining and was just, yes, me. You can have me. I was like, oh, shit.
I mean, that was an interesting offer, but at the time, it was like, okay, and who are you? I was like, why are you so important? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, does Xerxes think himself that important? I mean...
But understanding what we understand, I was like, oh, so it's the Xanathar and Centaurum thing going back and forth. What's this called? I just really... Yes. It was just like a snap. I was like, it's great.
You got to love some of the meta that does come out, and then you as players are going to now think, shit, I don't know that. That's the meta side of D&D. It can have some interesting effects. Jane Smith, aka Nutty Tart.
I have to say, my favourite bit was Droplet and his holding his hands out, looking at you, looking at your hands, looking at my hand, looking at your hands, and then going through all the coins to see if the ones that he's found are the ones that he had in his purse.
yes, the overly overt OCD-ness that is Droplet. Definitely.
Look for the beak marks.
Floon, not Floof. Oh, yeah, Floofy dog, of course.
Little Floof.
It's a little Floof. Little puppy Floof that eats everything. And lastly, but not leastly, Mr. Elliot Duskborn. Grim realities.
In a conjunction with what Neon said, as soon as Styx said that Xerxes had something information he wanted to give, like, privately, I'm like, nah, we got to go there. And it was the moment with Grumshaw where you said, get back in or get back at. And I'm like, that's just a good line. Perfect. And then later on with Neon behind those guys, like, you missed a spot. And I'm like, oh, brilliant. Yeah.
That
just
was
some
well
great
done.
lines.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well, it kind of made
really
sense.
Intrigued.
It made sense. I mean, why wouldn't someone who's in one faction ask? I mean, if he's offering himself, he's basically admitted as being part of the Zentarum, and talking to someone of the Xanathar Guild that are completely opposed to the Zentarum. Those two factions hate each other. Like they're the two warring factions in Waterdeep at this point in time. So of course he's going to ask, okay, what are you after? Are you here to rejoin them, or are you after revenge? What the fuck? What's up? Kind of thing. And also trying to gauge Xerxes as well, just by his answer. So it kind of made sense. But yeah, Droplet coming up behind those dudes, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect you to sort of do that. I was like, fuck, what am I going to do now? How do they react? It was like, do they run away? I mean, they've not been told to engage with you guys, so they've got to run away, surely. And they've just realized that they've been made by a fucking bird. So, and
the crazy part is,
Droplet does have a reputation in Waterdeep, so
we never even looked into what they look like or anything. So
as far as you couldn't tell their race from where you are. Right. Droplet would have got a look. Droplet would have got a look at their races, but again, with hoods up, being dark, it may not be easy to tell exactly what race they are, and there are races out there that do look human. So you got obviously the Asamar, you've got the Kalishtar. They all look relatively human. So sometimes it's kind of hard to pick a race. So I just call them human, even though they may not be. Yes, Nutty, you look like you wanted to say something.
I was going to say I'm going to nanner out in a minute.
You can nanner out anytime you like. We are done for the evening. We're not going to raid tonight. We're going to leave it there. The VOD will be up on YouTube within the next 2 or 3 days. I will look at possibly rerunning this VOD on Kick next Friday morning ish. Sometime during the day on Friday, I'm going to rerun this session on Kick. So at the very least, as I said, our next episode for this campaign is on the 2nd of June. Fuck, June already. Can't believe it. It's just halfway through the year. It's crazy. So 2nd of June will be our next session for Waterdeep. As far as next stream is concerned, possibly tomorrow night over on the Kicks. I don't think I have anything on tomorrow night. I think Nutty's working tomorrow night. So we'll be doing maybe some, I think I put it down for possibly some Fork Knife. So if anyone wants to come and play some Fortnite with me tomorrow night.
We all want to play the R6 we missed out on last night.
You'll get that next week. That's next week.
Hey, Grim.
Biddies. Thank you for the biddies.
I'm good either way.
GG's to you two, Magic. Cheers for hanging out with us. Appreciate it. And 75 biddies from Ari. Thank you very much. We don't have the alerts over here, but thank you very much for that. Appreciate. But yes, so tomorrow night, probably do some Fortnite. If anyone's keen on that. If no one's keen for Fortnite, we'll play some more PUBG. Which is either way. Sunday, I'm probably not going to do anything Sunday because I got P2 on Sunday with the other group. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that as well. And then we'll be back Monday, back next week with a fresh week of gaming over on Kick. So Monday Night Rust, we'll be doing another Rust raid. We'll probably look at maybe doing the launch site, taking down the Bradley and trying to get to the top of the launch site main building, which we need keycards for, which I have. So I need a group to maybe come and help us do that. There's some loot on the roof that'll be worth grabbing. We may look at a raid on a couple of bases as well. So Rust Raid Monday, come and hang out with us for that. So all of you Rusters, grab as much gear as you can. We'll go do some Rust raiding on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, PUBG. Thursday will be Rainbow Six Customs. Wednesday, PUBG Customs. Tuesday will be PUBG Squads. I'm pretty sure my next home game D&D is next Friday, I want to say. I can't remember whether it was next Friday or next Saturday. Either way, if it's not Friday, we'll be doing some Saturday PUBG on Friday.
Because I'm working Friday and then I'm off Saturday.
Right. Okay, so it'll be saying, oh, that's great. It'll be PUBG then. Yeah, no Rainbow Six happened this week. I've decided that the bulk of my content for Kick is going to be PUBG, pretty much moving back to the old days when that's all I did. A little bit different, like I say, we're going to do Rust Mondays. PUBG will be the mainstay pew game. Every alternate week, we're going to do Wednesday, Thursday, still custom PUBG Customs every other Wednesday and Rainbow Six Customs every other Thursday. So that'll be next week. So look for those that enjoy the Rainbow Six Customs. You'll be back next week with some more of that. Obviously, when Diablo 4 releases, we'll be doing a whole bunch of Diablo 4 in place of the PUBG. I might still do PUBG in that during the day. We might do a couple of bonus streams during the day. But we'll be doing some Diablo 4. I know Styx will have that, so we might be able to get Styx in with me to do some Diablo 4. Anyone else that has it, we need at least a couple of people. If we can get a 4 together, that'd be awesome. And then, of course, when Baldur's Gate 3 releases, goes full release, that is, I will be looking at putting together a 4-group co-op for Baldur's Gate 3 to do some RP stuff. So as much as there is dialogue in the game, we're going to create our own dialogue as well, make it hilariously funny. I know at least one person who's really keen on that. Mr. Noddy Neon over there was nodding vigorously before. So I know Neon's keen for that. I know Grim's keen for that as well. And we obviously need a 4th for that as well. So it'll be a lot of fun.
What game was that one?
Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know if you have you got that one?
Keen.
I don't have that.
No, I don't think
I
you had
believe
that one.
Dill was very
Yeah, I think Dill
up
was
for
keen
that one as
too,
well.
yeah. So
Yeah, I
we'll get a
bought it
group
and then
together.
I never played it.
Yeah, so we'll get a group together for that, and maybe once or twice a week we'll do some RP stuff with that, because that'll be a bit of fun. But as I said, for the time being, the main game we'll be looking at will be PUBG. Although I am playing some Battlefield a lot these days too. Thanks to Sticks telling me that it's improved, 2024, and I've actually been quite enjoying it. So I've been playing it a little bit in the afternoons. I might stream a little bit of it in the afternoons maybe, but might have to get one night Sticks on to do some 2024 as well. It's on Game Pass, guys. If you have Game Pass, it is a far improvement on its release. Far improvement. It was absolutely balked on its release, and they've definitely improved it greatly. And I've enjoyed that actually better than playing Call of Duty, which is good because Battlefield was always my game. Okay, that's it from me. That's it from these guys. Thank you very much, everyone in the chat. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Keep an eye on the Discord on further content, where it is and when it is. Until then, stay safe, take care, and bye.